Welcome, friends. So glad to meet you back here at my little channel. It's finally nighttime here, and I'm getting ready to settle into bed. But before I can do that, I need to share some information with you about a rabbit hole I've been heading down for a while now. It's all about the wife swap show and the murders of two family members who were featured on the series. I have to be honest with you. This was the first time I've cried since I started doing research on a topic for the channel, and it was because I was able to access Kathy Stockdale's YouTube channel and watch her two sons play bluegrass music together. As of today, one of those sons is dead, and the other resides in a mental institution, found guilty of murder.
Love is but a song to sing, fears the way we die.
Wife Swap was an American reality television program, first broadcast on ABC in 2004. In the program, two families, usually from different social classes and lifestyles, trade spouses for 2 weeks. The program will usually deliberately swap wives with dramatically different lifestyles, such as a messy wife swapping with the fastidiously neat one. Or a wife who only cooks vegan will swap with a non-vegan wife, documenting the cultural and social differences that the two families discover with the new family member. So, in 2008, Wife Swap featured the Stockdale family. Catherine Stockdale was an incredibly strict, ultra-religious matriarch living in Canton, Ohio. The Stockdale family also included Tim Stockdale and their 4 boys, Calvin, Charles, Jacob, and James. Kathy Stockdale was described as a loving mother, grandmother, daughter, sister, aunt, friend, and mentor. She was a staunch Christian, known for disciplining and instilling the best values in her son. Mama Kathy was into healthy living. She was a farmsteader who grew all of her own veggies and raised her own animals to feed her family. She homeschooled her 4 boys. The boys appeared to live with a great deal of social isolation. They were not permitted to date or socialize with other kids for the most part. The boys were required to do chores around the farm to earn coins, which they could use to buy different forms of entertainment, such as listening to the radio, though pop music was not allowed. The structure of the house included a long list of no's. No internet, no TV, no swearing, no video games, etc. But the patriarch, Tim Stockdale, allowed the boys to play music with him in an old-fashioned bluegrass family band. The band was well known and played at local venues as well as having a following on YouTube. The Stockdale family band was no ordinary band because they competed and won in several regional competitions. Jacob is the family's fiddler, known for winning the Ohio State's Grand Fiddle Championship. The family was successful in creating 3 albums. They seemed wholesome enough and perfect for the premise of the wife swap show. For the episode, they swapped wives with the Tonkovic family from Illinois, who were pretty much the Stockdale's opposites, per the show's typical storyline. Lori and John Tonkovic were raising their children with much less structure and rules. In fact, the Tonkovic family included Lori's son's girlfriend and teenage daughter's boyfriend. When it was time to switch houses, Kathy left a manual about the running of her house for Lori, who was shocked by the rigid rules. Lori was very upset about the way Kathy and Tim raised their kids, saying, "They're slaves." "It's important we have control over their character and education," Kathy said in the episode. Lori cried several times during the show, explaining she was sad for the kids who didn't know how to have fun. Kathy was equally upset about the way the Tonkovic family lived, calling their rapper son's behavior shameful, foul, and disgusting. During the second week of the swap, the wives got to change the rules for each family. Kathy had the unmarried young couples care for lifelike babies that cry and need feeding. She was also openly rude and degrading towards the girlfriend of Lori's son. Meanwhile, in Ohio, Lori wanted the oldest 2 boys, aged 19 and 16, to go on a double date. Tim was very much against it, saying, "I don't care to have them experience that." And at first, the boys were against it too. They did end up complying with the rule change and stated they had fun. The reunion of the couples at the end of the show was just short and dramatic. Kathy came across as judgmental, upsetting Lori greatly. Lori told her she was a terrible person and stormed out of the meeting after only a brief conversation. Clearly, the two families could not have been more different. On the follow-up, the Tonkovic children had started doing chores and contributing to their household. The Stockdale boys stated they were not permitted to continue dating and went back to the super structured lifestyle they were accustomed to. Later on, the two eldest sons came of age and moved away from the Stockdale homestead. They left the band officially, though continued to play music with the family regularly while home. The oldest brother, Calvin, went on to work at Hillsdale College in Michigan, a liberal arts school in the south central portion of the state. Second oldest brother went on to study to be a doctor in Philadelphia. Jacob and James remained home and continued to play in the band. Here are a few words from Jacob about his love of fiddle playing. Our dad was always the big inspiration behind us getting into this old-time acoustic music. We'd have great music nights where Dad would play rhythm guitar, and sometimes we'd pull out pots and pans and keep the rhythm, Jacob Stockdale told the Canton Rep in November of 2016. I started playing the fiddle when I was 7, Jacob continued. I've probably had 4 fiddle teachers for short periods of time and spent a lot of time on my own practicing and figuring things out myself. I started out playing a lot of fiddle contests, at least 7 a year, and that was a big inspiration for me. I'd have something to work for and learn new songs for. In 2012, I won the Ohio State Grand Champion Fiddle Contest for old-time fiddling at a Parade of the Hills festival in Nelsonville, Ohio. Then I went out to Idaho for the national competition. I got 12th in my age category. So, the Stockdale family band continued to be an active ensemble, even as the 2 remaining younger sons grew into their 20s. We play all over, mostly in Ohio, but we also play in surrounding areas, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, youngest son James told the Canton Rep in 2016. We play a lot of community concert series, churches, theaters, and county fairs. We've had a great time as the house band at an Amish country theater in Walnut Creek. They mix us in with the comedy acts they have down there. Jacob and I are also singing as part of the Straight Tie a cappella group at the theater this Christmas, and we're throwing in some fiddle and bass and trick guitar work. It's fun and a new experience for us. In Ohio, many saw the story of the Stockdale family as idyllic and even inspirational. People generally thought of the boys as polite, funny, and musically talented. They also seemed visibly content with a simple life that didn't involve the internet, television, or cell phones. But this is in stark contrast to the scene that the Stark County Sheriff's deputies found on Thursday, June 15th, 2017, at the Stockdale family residence. At about 4:36 p.m., our office received a 911 call from the residents. It was a landline call, not a cell phone call. It was a hang-up call, Sheriff George T. Meyer explained at a press conference. At that time, after we received the hang-up call, which we do on a number of cases on a daily basis, we responded deputies to the residence. Upon arrival at the residence, the deputies noticed that the front door was open. As they approached the house, they saw what they believed to be someone laying in the front door. They gave verbal commands. There was no response, and at that time, there was a gunshot that went off. After the gunshot went off, they tactically approached the house. Near the front door, authorities found 21-year-old James. James, who was 11 when the show aired, was deceased from a gunshot wound. Upstairs, authorities found the deceased body of Kathy Stockdale. She, too, had been shot. They quickly found Jacob Stockdale, the second to the youngest son, with the self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head. He was alive, but barely. He was rushed to the hospital. While it was obvious that Jacob Stockdale was the perpetrator, the motive was not clear at all. The murders were committed with a 20-gauge shotgun that had always been kept in the home. The police had never been called out to the Stockdale home before, and Jacob had never been in trouble. The oldest 2 boys had moved, but Jacob and James continued to live with their parents and were still part of the family bluegrass band. In fact, the band had been booked for the entire summer. Jacob won several awards during that time. Tim was not home at the time of the murders. The father, Timothy Stockdale, said in a statement after the killings, "Kathy has been my beloved wife of 32 years and a wonderful mother to our 4 sons. She loved nothing more than being a mother and grandmother. She had a strong love of learning and was passionate about her Christian faith, natural health, and organic farming." Eldest brother Calvin Stockdale also released a statement saying, "James, our youngest brother, has always been a catalyst of family fun. Aside from being a gifted musician, James enjoyed dancing and had an innate love of people. James was working on a business degree and hoped to go to the business side of entertainment. He leaves many friends, and a family that loves him dearly. My brother, Jacob, is still in critical condition, and we are praying for his physical recovery as our family makes funeral plans and begins the healing process." Jacob Stockdale, who was in the ER, underwent several surgeries and medical procedures and was in the hospital and rehabilitation facilities for over a year following the shooting. Once he had sufficiently recovered from his injuries, he was indicted on murder charges. That indictment came in September of 2018, and Jacob Stockdale turned himself in. In early 2019, his defense team requested a psychological evaluation with an intention of pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. But after a second mental health evaluation, Jacob Stockdale was placed in a secured state psychiatric facility for mental health treatment. The legal proceedings in the case would be delayed until Jacob was ruled competent to stand trial. While in the facility, Jacob attempted to escape the facility twice, but he was never tried for the escapes. In February of 2020, a judge ruled that Jacob Stockdale was competent to stand trial. Almost 4 years after the murders of his strict mother and younger brother, Jacob finally faced the music. In April of 2021, he pled guilty to 2 counts of murder and was sentenced to 15 years to life for each count to run consecutively. He will not be eligible for parole until 2048. This sentence was given despite requests from Tim for his son to receive the lightest sentence possible. Tim and his other sons say they have forgiven Jacob. But why did this happen? What was the motive? Honestly, no one knows for sure, and Jacob has never offered a motive in the case. Lori Tonkovic has a theory, however. She states that she believes Jacob snapped under the pressure from his super religious and strict upbringing. She said that during the swap, Jacob completely freaked out when given any bit of freedom, including being allowed to watch television and play video games. According to Lori, Jacob was scared he would, quote-unquote, burn in hell. He actually said that to her. Without any other motive, this may be plausible. It is ironic that Kathy and Tim worked so hard to raise their kids in a wholesome environment, only to have their son spend the majority of his life in prison. This case really fascinates me, and I have a desperate need to know more about the mental health of Jacob before the shooting. Unfortunately, there's not a lot more information available at this time. I hope that sometime in the future, the family members may speak out, or even Jacob will finally be able to speak out and give us some answers. Well, I'm off to bed for now, friends. I will be checking in on this case later, don't worry, because I'm continually heading down the rabbit hole.